What's up, YouTube? Archman here, and gonna do a little video on the what is this? What are you doing up there, buddy? Gonna do a little video on the uh, Microtech Ultratech, which I've had for 2 weeks now. And first thing I would say right out of the gate is it's Miller time. I mean, obviously. Actually, we're gonna go with a Hop Bullet Double IPA from Sierra Nevada tonight with homage to Salida, Colorado, the Moonlight Pizza Brew Pub, the first place I ever ate had a dinner or lunch out in Salida back in 2004, and they're just a thriving pizza place and brew pub. Still, just keep expanding and getting bigger and better. And we're gonna go with this double IPA, which is just foamy as fuck. Actually, this glass has been sitting since I had my last beer in it, so it's a little foamy. But yeah, I want to talk about the little Ultratech today. It's been fantastic. I actually have EDC'd this knife along with other knives just because maybe to my own imagination, but maybe not. I just see this knife as kind of limited. I think it might be nice to, you see all the videos of people cutting through 2x4s and people doing kind of abuse tests or whatever it is, but that doesn't really tell you what kind of an EDC it is. Because my knives, typically, I'm actually going to, even though I don't carry this knife a whole lot, I think this is a fantastic EDC. That's a paramilitary too, of course. But yeah, honestly, I'm, I personally wouldn't think that I'm not super interested in gumming it up with a bunch of tape jizz and stuff, from packaging tape or just whatever it is you might get on there. I kind of mentioned, I think, on the first video I did on this knife, just like, oh yeah, I'll just use it and clean it. And to be fair, like I have used and cleaned this knife a little bit in those circumstances. But another thing too is I've also, because I did just move into a house and we're upgrading things and buying things and doing all this, the fucking cardboard consumption has been just out the ass this past month. And fortunately, so I guess for my house, I guess not for the planet Earth, but so I've kind of just learned. I mean, I knew this already anyway, because a lot of times you cut we knife people, we cut tape because we like cutting things with our knives. But you see everyone and their mother use their teeth or their key or whatever it is like that. That's not the best idea either. You don't use your teeth or your key, but you do want to, it might be a good idea to think outside the box. So what I usually do if I'm like, say I just like sharpen my knife and it's a pain in the ass, like a Sabenza or something like that. I might be like, you know what, man, I'm holding on to this edge, and I might be a little more keen to like using my knife for things that are suited for a cut for a nice knife, like such as, I don't know, like food prep type shit, like something that we're like, you want to make a precision cut. There's EDC things. I personally really enjoy, like, if I get like a bag of screws or something like that. You see most people just rip that thing open and it's just this tattered kind of stretched, opening. And those of us that are knife people are like, ugh, but the truth is we could be that person too. We enjoy cutting it, and then we also therefore enjoy the clean opening in that material, whatever it is that we're using it for. But long story short, stuff that could gunk up your blade a lot of times is avoidable. If it's not, that's understandable, but man, oh, talking knives. Fucking knives. But a lot of that stuff is avoidable, you know. So like, what I've been doing with, I'm fuck man, I could go on and on about all the shit that I've had to buy because buying this new house. But new lawnmower, new weed eater, fucking, you know, furniture from Wayfair and IKEA. I mean, you name it. There's cardboard boxes just, you know, coming out the fucking ears. Um, but yeah, I mean, all it takes one little poke in the tape, linear wise, and you can tear it right in half. So a little poke on the top of the box, a little top poke on each side where it wraps around the top, and you're good to go. So anyway, I haven't been pressing it into roles that I know there's a better tool for. I guess is a long, short way of saying that with a long example. But cheers. The Hot Bullet Double IPA. You know, I love Sierra Nevada. I chose this though because I went to fucking, where'd I go? Costco shopping today, and I was like, oh, they have a shitload of Sierra Nevada cheap. So that's the real reason. Plus, it's good stuff. Dude, you know what, man? You, among other people, have been praising the Ultratech to me for fucking years. And it's cool as fuck, you know? I do have a few things to say about it, though. I mean, I don't have any notes or anything like that, but yeah, kind of my first thing is like, you know, I don't know, like I do think it could be a great EDC, but yeah, it is what it is. You know, it is kind of limited. Where like something like this is different. You know, one of the things is like this thing, we all have our fucking expectations of it, and for better or for worse, a lot of people's expectations are have to do with influences, you know, like the YouTube reviewers, those of us fucking dickwads who talk about shit like we really, really know, but obviously it's the manufacturers who know about this, how these things go. You know, man, I don't know if you've ever held a UTX-70, but I wanted to look, I wanted to too, but the shop where I bought this knife had like 5 or 6 UTX-70s, and I did try them, and while it's cool, um, all the lighting's not the best, but everything is to scale, you know? So like there's a couple of things that I just didn't really love about it is, um, just all these these screws. Fuck, you know what? There's disassembly videos, so don't take my word for it. But look at one of the disassembly videos. I don't know if there's a UTX 71 or not, but plenty of Ultratech ones. But that shit is kind of to scale, and so while it's like negative in both ways, from what I can tell, one is just everything. The amount of meat that the screws screw into seems pretty small, and then everything's just kind of shrunken down on it. And then on the flip side of that, the blade stock is actually not, it's not as thick as an Ultratech, but it's relatively thick, but super narrow. Like the UTX 70's blade is so narrow that when you actually go and look at the grind, it's a fucking honker. Like, I mean, but at the same time, you know what? Uh, how much cutting am I going to do with this fucking thing anyway? So I mean, that's a valid point. Plus, I have a Spyderco Rhodey that I just love. It's a great knife, and it's the same thing, small little knife, but decent robustness to it. So it's got a fucking chunky ass grind on it. I think I may have done a Rhodey video. If not, I should, because it's a great, tragically overlooked knife. It's a great. And you can get those for like, I think like 40, $50, something like that. But yeah, so I think there's a lot more flexibility with these things, is what I was getting at. With we're held to standards with knives that have like standard issue. Dude, I wanted a UTX 85. I was like, I'm getting a UTX 85. I'm sorry, I keep a lot of. I know you guys can't see the comments, or maybe you turn them on and I don't, but I can't see the comments whenever I am rewatching a video. But I just really like the UTX 70. I don't know. The blade's not big, you know. Like um, this is a paramilitary 2, and you can see a good bit, totally acceptable EDC. Um, and it's a 1/4 inch bigger. So yeah, like 3 1/4 inch blade, but really great size for this, honestly. And I don't know why the screws are asymmetrical on the UTX 85. Like these two are kind of weird like that, but I don't know. This just seems more uniform. You know, the way the UTX 85 screws are offset, I'm just like, well, what about this part here? Doesn't that need that screw right over now? Holding that shit down? So, yeah. All right, back to something that this thing just doesn't necessarily have. It doesn't. It's missing out on how I'll describe this. I guess is the best way to say it, and that is kind of like there's with like side opening, you know, leaf, whatever it is, liner, lock, however you want to call it, some kind of leaf that goes over, or liner or frame that goes over um, into the knife. We have like these supposed standards, which are, you know, like just all kinds of things, smoothness of how it opens, blade play, you know, certain factors there, the type and ease of which that mechanism opens and closes, um, finger clearances, fucking opening hole types and functions and distances of from pivots and all that kind of stuff. So like there's so many variables and factors where you can have an opinion on this, and some of them are pretty valid, you know, like say side to side play or something like that. That's what's funny is on my paramilitary 2, I'm just fucking a problem child, I guess, but this thing has pretty significant side to side play, and I can't crank it down any tighter. I bought this at the Spyderco factory as a factory first too. Um, so whatever is what it is. But what I'm getting at is when a person buys an Ultratech, that all gets thrown out the window because you come into it knowing that it's going to have a little bit of side to play just because they're like, hey, that's how the shit works, you know, and like they're like, you know, there's a certain amount of tension on the spring, and I played with a bunch of OTFs when I was at this shop, which I still need to post a video. I did a little kind of short shop tour, but sorry, sip of beer there. But fuck, no, I forgot where I was getting at. But it's hard to compare. It's yeah. There are things that like you might yeah. It's just there's no real yardstick to compare this to, except for maybe another Ultratech or maybe a Scarab or another Microtech, you know, kind of, or I guess a Benchmade OTF if you really wanted to. But I don't know. I can instantly pick apart just by looking at it and or at least holding it in person. This shop, if I post the shop tour, which I should, it's a bummer because like I'm just a lazy fuck. So like I can't post the shop tour because you have to try to do it. This all I have to do is go, yep, here's a shitty title, and no, it's not made for kids, which is fucked up because like it makes you put whether it's for kids or not, but they put yes, it's for kids at the top. Like how many fucking YouTube videos are for kids? Seriously, that should definitely not be the fucking top selection. So my videos are not necessarily not for kids, but they're just for a certain breed of kid, probably, I imagine. But anyway, and then I fucking hit go and it just goes. So I'm not, but anyway, I digress. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot negative at all, really, to say about this knife. Just that, you know, hey, there's not a lot to compare it to. Um, all right, how about this? Here's a negative thing that I specifically was like, make sure, but it's not even hard to make sure because it's just a glaring thing. The knife, as far as I can tell so far, with a 2-week break-in period, and literally I'm just like driving my truck around. I'm a carpenter, and so like you drive your truck when you're a carpenter, and I've been EDCing this thing, like a fucking fidget spinner, which I think to me, honestly, if I was to want like a report on this knife, I guess it would just be like, you know, as long as there's not a person around that's going to be annoyed by it, you're going to fucking fire the shit out of this thing, right? So it's like, oh, but at the same time, what signs and symptoms are you going to have that something's not right? Like, I mean, this thing already has a decent amount of play in it, right? I mean, so but at the same time, it doesn't bother me because I'm like, you're told right off the bat, oh, that's part of the action, it's part of the mechanism, it's what keeps it, functioning, I guess. But um, yeah, it does that. It definitely does this. You can do that a lot. But like was getting at, there's the caveat of like you really have to keep this thing oiled. You have to keep this thing clean. Um, I have speaking of that, like I'm gonna clean off the blade. So I don't like eating fucking synthetic oils and shit. So like I will never use this knife for food. Like that's not fucking happening. Because it seems to me so far, uh, I haven't used this for a whole lot of dumb shit. I have cut a couple of boxes with it. I have opened a couple things with it, but like nothing like I would use my EDC knife for. Absolutely, I'm not just not gonna do that because what if I guess that my predominant thought is what if I did suck a chunk of something in there, a chunk of something with adhesive on it, or whatever it is. Um, I don't want to fucking take this goddamn knife apart, but I guess that's what I would do, just because that is what I would do because I am a tinkerer. But at the same time, I don't want to have to take a knife apart. I guess is an important part of it. So, um, I would chalk that up to questionable, like not necessarily I have this experience or I've seen this experience or anything like that. I just kind of, um, when this thing does kind of get something, I can't really tell exactly what's going on, but it will eventually, like if I don't lube it or spray, what I've been putting in there is CLP, which I use to clean firearms with, like break free shit, um, which has like cleaner and lubricant in it, and it's the best because I've dropped just like real oil in there, and man, it does not like that. If I just put like real oil in there, it you can just tell it's like whoop too viscous, like that's no good. Like it fires out like not great, and then eventually it might even misfire. But another sip of beer here, boys. So yeah, it seems to me like I an oil that it really likes. Again, I'm a finished carpenter, so I have pneumatic tools. That pneumatic tool oil I use, I think it's a Bosch actually, which I have like one Bosch tool anymore, but I think I have a Bosch brand pneumatic tool oil. It's a really thin red, like dyed red oil, and it loves that. Because at work, I'm just like, oh, this fucking thing, it's not firing or whatever. And I will just put a couple, like one drop down this side, one drop down that side. Seems to do the trick. And then just in the back of my mind, I'm kind of like, well, I just want it to not fucking misfire. So when I get home, I'll spray a little break free down in there and then just kind of open it and close it. Um, But I will say, it seems to me like the minute that this thing, so you saw I just wiped it. The minute that this thing, it stops coming out with like lubrication, you can see like right there, it usually is all, yep, up and down the spine. Um, the minute that starts happening, maybe like day of or next day, um, which is probably seriously like 80 openings or something like that later, 100 openings. Um, that's when the shit starts going downhill. So I don't know if it actually is because it's dragging a little bit because of the lubrication, or because there is some kind of particle in there. But I've been just kind of treating it as probably both and just getting it flushed out. But it does seem to alleviate it. It definitely gets sluggish. Yeah. Brand new colony, I basically just said like, hey, you can totally feel it. Absolutely. Like if I put like, you know what? I almost want to just go grab some real oil. All right. I'm in my basement right now. I have to run up two half flights of stairs. I'm going to go grab some real oil real quick and we'll just kind of do a little live demo. Plus I can get another beer. All right. I'm coming back. Okay. Got both. I went with a hazy little thing. And this real oil, I really, really like this oil, by the way. I just picked it up at my local feed store, which has just an awesome, it's a Murdoch's. I don't know if you guys have Murdoch's where you are, but great selection of just everything, really. So, yeah, fuck it. We'll just go ahead and drop some of this in there. I like it. I like it in everything, honestly. Like, I use this for mainly just my knives, but so everything meaning knives, basically. Whew, so I ran upstairs and downstairs. So yeah, we'll kind of maybe just kind of listen to the sound. I'll drop just a little bit of real oil in there. We'll see if we can get it on film here. So let's do one drop on each side. I feel like oops. All right, I don't like that bead on there, so I'm gonna get it off. I feel like it wants to be lubricated on both sides. I know that when you see these things disassembled, I want to say the lock that keeps it open is like here-ish, and the lock that keeps it closed, I think, is actually back here on this side. Could be wrong. I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I bet you they're both on the same side. Actually, yeah, why would they be on opposite sides? Because it's one spring. Yep, that's what it is. Anyway, I don't hear a big difference, but I feel like I feel a big difference. Let's see. I'll just go crazy with it. Yeah. Anyway, that's what, I think that's the best reason to get one of these things. Oh, another thing that I meant to mention on this too, which I'm glad I just thought about, is this knife actually makes me kind of understand why people, I was going to use it, I'm glad I said people, that's great. Why people love like crazy steels, such as like M390, CTS 204P, which I think this one's CTS 204P. Yes, it's because I think most people treat their knives how I am, and I'm probably going to continue to treat this knife, which is basically, I don't even know, like a vagina fart, something like that. Is it a queef? Or something very fragile. Like, I don't know. Like, so basically, oh, you know what? It definitely it feels even more sluggish now. But basically, treating this knife like it's very delicate or could, get gunked up or could be damaged easily, right? I think maybe that's why people like CTS 204P. I mean, I like CTS 204P too, but I use the shit out of my regular knives. Like, so I've always been like, I just don't get it. Like, I mean, because, like, I'm like, yeah, it keeps an edge longer, but then you also, it takes longer to sharpen. So I'm like, what? I mean, the trade-off is, it's the same fucking thing, So, like, I never really kind of got the whole super steel thing. But I don't want to fucking sharpen this goddamn Tonto. I guess I will. I honestly, I do plan on not to be like negative or anything, but I in some way or shape or form, I really do want to see this knife through to, um, I don't know, just a real test, you know? So whether that means it does become like a real EDC and I just am like, oh, fuck, man, it's like really failing. Or maybe like, oh, shit, it's really awesome. I kind of have a theory with it that the tolerances, even though like there is that slop and stuff, that they make it as tight as possible given like their ideal, you know, fluid movements. So like I have this theory that if you use this a lot, that those little particles that gunk it up might not be such a big deal once it wears the parts in, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but I would say that if it is, then you just fucking jack this baby off and you're gonna wear it in, right? Obviously, maybe not. But that's my theory, and I'm fucking sticking to it. Because I don't plan on flipping this knife or anything like that because I honestly feel like I try to do that shit wisely, you know? So, like, it doesn't fucking matter if like, this thing is already used, you know? So, like, it doesn't, there's a fucking diminishing returns-ish kind of thing going on where it's like the second this thing goes out the door, it drops $50 right off the bat. And so like the difference between mint and I've sharpened it a few times or it's got a few scratches on it, I mean that maybe drops it another $30 or something like that, you know, tops. So yeah, between not using it and using it, it's only $30 difference, but 80 overall. So but whatever. So it's out the toilet unless you got to fucking, you know, use it to help pay for a filling or something like that, I guess. But I'm gonna take another sip of beer. But honestly, the most glaring negative for me, which might not be a negative at all for people, is that fucking lubrication issue. Obviously, I just fucking lubed it for no goddamn reason because I was fucking with the, and this is a really light oil to be honest. Sorry about the little bumperoo there. This is actually a pretty light oil, but it really did gunk the fuck out of it last time. Honestly, maybe it just kind of didn't move whatever was in there causing issues enough. But I went and put some brake free in there and some CLP, and it just fucking, it works like a charm, super charm. But it's very thin, so it actually leaks out of this seam where the two halves go together. Not like crazy, but it does leak out, and it leaks out inside the button too. Um, yeah. So yeah, overall, I would say the negatives. I guess here's the thing too, like expectations are a big part of it too. So like I came into buying this knife. You know, I really do think that it's certainly possible. Some of the one or two of the reviews that I've watched on YouTube about this knife is like people wanted it to be an EDC, and they're like, and it fails. It seems to fail like pretty quickly, you know. So as far as like getting shit in there and having to clean it out, so I would say that all of the videos that I've seen that really like shine a bright luminescent fucking positive light on these knives, the fucking Microtech out the fronts, or maybe out the fronts in general. Certainly the Ultratech. They're not taking the. I haven't seen like regular person EDC tasks where it's like they're not thinking about like some of the nuances that I might think about, like such as what am I retracting back into the blade whenever I retract this thing. So kind of like I said, my initial impression was if I do that, I'm just going to be fucking very aware of it like I am with a fixed blade, and I'm not going to stick, you know, fucking blood and guts or whatever the fuck it is on my blade down into my sheath, and I'm not going to retract it into this thing either. Where like on your standard issue EDC knife, I mean, it is super common for me to leave all kinds of fucking jizz on a blade and fold it in place. Unless it's like up in the pivot mechanism, I'm fine with it, my blade being gunky. Till the end of the day or the fucking next morning or whenever it is that I decide to clean it off. And that's one of my favorite things about fixed blade knives. I've argued the point, and people have got like really mad at me before, where I'm just like, there are circumstances where a folding knife is more safe than a fixed blade knife. And that one that comes immediately to my mind is that you can, in like a tense or stressful situation, you can use, you're on a boat or whatever it is, like it's moving and like you're having to just like do something quickly. It doesn't have to be a life-threatening situation, but like with a folding knife, you can use it really quickly, fold it back, and then just like jam it in your underwear if you want, or like stick it in a pocket or throw it down on the floor or whatever it is. Where with a fixed blade knife, you have to use it and then try not to stab yourself while you resheath it. And you're not going to throw it into the floor or whatever it is, or hand it to somebody, without taking a lot of consideration and focus to do those things. So, yeah, not everything is so cut and dry, I guess is what I was getting at with that. Wow, second beer, 31 minutes. All right, that's pretty good. You can have a beer every 30 minutes, as long as you only have like 4 or 6. But yeah, the overwhelming thing that I personally would say about the Microtech Ultratech is don't buy it if you have 3 knives. Unless, fuck, man, you know what? Just don't make it like something that is going to be, you're completely reliant on as a normal everyday consumer who just goes about your day. Like this thing is, for me, God, I would just have to say, at least at this point, and I will continue to review this thing just as I'm trying to do with a lot of the tools and knives that I carry. Speaking of that, I am going to start reviewing tools because I don't know if I've posted YouTube videos on my tools or job site trailer or anything like that, but you could definitely shoot some shit. You'll definitely spray your pants a little bit if you're a tool slut like I am, by seeing that stuff. But yeah, I mean, like if I was to say, like between like these 2 knives, a fucking Ultratech for $280 or a fucking paramilitary 2, like absolutely not make an Ultratech like your main carry, unless like it's your main carry has nothing to do with EDC and only to do with like last ditch self-defense or fuck, man, I honestly can't think of a great practical reason to carry it, but that's only because I haven't really necessarily used it for like great practical reasons, right? So like I don't you dare, my phone's telling me it's in low power mode. Well, this is bullshit. Oh, you know what, I usually plug it in whenever I'm doing these things, so I'm just gonna plug it in real quick just so I can use it for pornography later. But that's the main point to take away from this video is I fucking love it. That's the main thing to take away from it. I fucking love it. Second main thing to take away from it is do not buy it as your only knife, especially if you're half as retarded as I am, that's setting the bar pretty fucking low, I think. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. We vape in Colorado, actually, so put that in your vape. But yeah, I haven't even got it to fail once this video. I mean, like, honestly, I would say, like, if this thing is going to fail, here, let's take this. What's this? I don't fucking need this. Oh, look at that. Okay. I figured for sure it would just fail for this piece of paper. Did you think it would fail? Let's double it up. Haha, I can't take the twice as nice. 2 times paper, you can't have it. This is bullshit. Yeah. I do like that though, because I didn't realize that about Microtechs. You can reset it. Well, of course, it's not going to work now. So you can reset it by pulling on the blade, or by pulling on the blade like that, or you can kind of shake it down into the blade like this. So whatever you do, because that's another thing I guess is mentionable is what's cool about this mechanism is the spring is not under, and I did not ever really realize this, even though people like mentioned it and stuff. The spring is never under tension when it's open or closed. So the spring is not under tension at all right now. So what happens is you push you're pulling on the spring. Like when you start to activate this mechanism, you're like pulling on the spring, pulling on the spring, pulling on the spring, and suddenly you meet like some kind of fucking detent type of shit that suddenly like releases and allows the tension that you're causing by moving this button to fire the blade open. And then once it's there, the fucking spring and these bars and shit move into another position, and now it's waiting for you to now pull tension on the spring, pull tension on the spring, pull tension on the spring, tighter, 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 and then you hit a detent point, and boom, it's fucking slams her home inside. So that's actually pretty fucking cool. So it is completely at rest both ways. I'm not exactly sure how the lock actually works in there, but I do know that I've watched videos that explain it, and I just watched too many fucking videos to remember it. So you can watch that, and it's always interesting, obviously, to look at those mechanisms. Taking a sip of the hazy little thing, boy. She slams her home. That's how she does it. But yeah, man, you know, over time I will eventually put this thing do some real use. Oh, I did bend the spring a little bit. So I researched this a little bit, and they are titanium. I did not think it was titanium, but you know, I didn't bend it a whole lot. Like you can look at the I don't have anything to compare it to, but I did. I bent the whole thing down so it's a little bit flatter. I just covered the whole thing in masking tape, put it on the anvil that's on the back of my vise, and I just, you know, tapped it here until it bent down a little bit, tapped it here until you need to break that pup open to show us the guts. Hey, so Birdshot, I know they have one, and I know I don't normally do other YouTube shout outs because this is the only good channel. That's why I have 2,000 subscribers. Oh, no, I think I'm at 1,800 subscribers. You know, our Uncle Archman has become less popular over the years, but that's okay. You know what? If I can positively influence one person in my whole fucking life, mission accomplished. You know, that's how I feel about it. I don't, when I talk shit about whatever and I say fucking, you know, pussy juice or whatever, it's for the good of the land, boys and girls. It's the truth. Yeah, love the knife. Love the knife. But there are fucking data points to be considered. There's an asterisk next to love the knife. 2010. I know, it's been fucking crazy, man. It's been crazy. I mentioned, I think, on one or two of my last videos that I will be getting a nicer camera. I will be getting a microphone because my wife is going to start a YouTube channel too. I don't know if you guys have Instagram or not, but and not to point you towards my wife's naughty bits or anything like that. But my wife she's a bikini IFBB pro. So her Instagram is at Caroline Ovenstein TCM, and she actually just got home tonight from a show in Florida. which she got 16th out of like, but it was 16th out of like 40, so could be worse. But and that's pros, you know, so pretty good. Um, but yeah, no, love the knife. Sorry to get off on the tangent there about my sexy wife. It's crazy. But dudes, also, if you guys can fucking track down one of these Zach Wood pry bars, it may be my favorite thing of all time. Honestly, like, I mean, I know it's expensive. I know it's fucking seems goofy and superfluous, but compared to fucking expensive knives, it's not. Like, I mean, because like it takes the licking and keeps on ticking. This thing is a rowdy EDC for me, and that's right. This is, oh yeah, and you can flip around the clip. Although there's a caveat. Like you can see it's offset a little bit. I don't know what that caveat is, but there's a YouTube video about it. I reference YouTube, sir. Um, but dude, this fucking Zachwood pry bar is the shit. And honestly, I've been working my fucking tits off in life, and I'm also 43. So I could potentially be investing in a milling machine at some point, you know. So it's possible. Um, you guys saw my fucking shit when I was living in a ruin. I was poor boying it, but I wasn't making $0. That's for sure. But I might start making some shit. We'll see. Because this thing has me fucking peaked. Because I'm like, it's fucking awesome. Like, I would, I would pay. I think I paid 260 for this, and like on the secondary market. And for me, like, because how much I really like this thing and how much I've used it, this bit driver, like how it backs up to the clip, fucking genius. Like, I mean, but 200 bucks all day, every day, I would pay for that thing. Like, if I lost it tomorrow, I'd buy another one for 200. If I lost it again, I'd buy another one. Like, just because it's fucking great. But I'm gonna leave you with that, guys. It's 42 minutes in. I'm gonna go finish my beer, watch some fucking Schitt's Creek or something like that, and good night, dudes. Thank you guys for watching. Palabra, a tu madre.